So every year, I come back and I try to make updated videos for just basic things in Warpath for the new players that are consistently funneling into Warpath, just to try to keep all of the basic guide videos as up to date for everyone coming into the game as I can. And this video is going to be an updated basic officer guide. We're going to cover the very basics of officers, how to level them up, the buffs you're going to get, things like that. So without further ado, let's go and get started. Welcome back, guys. I am excited to bring you this brand new updated officer guide here. This is going to be covering the absolute very basics for those of you that are brand new in Warpath in regard to officers. We're going to talk about leveling officers up, officer skills, like I said, just the very, very basics. My goal with this video is to get you on the right track, get you a baseline understanding. There's a lot that happens and a lot that goes on in Warpath, so it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I want to get you at least pointed in the right direction when it comes to your officers. The even better part about that is at the time of recording this video, the 12.0 update just released here in Warpath, and with it brought a brand new officer. And this is going to be the officer that I actually use as an example for this video because this officer is level 1. So it'll be a really good example officer. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump in and get to work. So this is Title Fang, the brand new Navy officer that was added here in Warpath with this 12.0 update. Like I said, I am only using her because she's level 1 and she's going to be a great example to use for this video. Now, what I'm going to be discussing in this video is going to apply to all officers in Warpath, regardless of if they are a ground force officer, air force officer, or Navy officer. We're going to be talking about how to identify which generation each officer is a part of, how to level an officer up, the buffs that are going to come along with leveling up your officers, officer skills, and also which order you should be leveling up officer skills in, and then a couple of other things along the way. So to start, officer generations. Now, there are currently 4 different generations of officers in Warpath, and you can tell which generation an officer is in based on this little icon here that looks like an army officer or something like that. All you have to do is click on that. It will tell you which generation an officer is in. Generation 1 being the oldest generation of officer, Generation 4 being the newest in Warpath. And I'm sure as time goes on, we'll eventually get to Generation 5 and maybe even beyond that. But just kind of keep that in mind and always click on that to see which generation an officer is in, and that will give you an indication on how new that officer is in Warpath. Now let's talk about how to level an officer up. So you can see this officer is level 1, and you can see out to the right there is an arrow pointing up. All you have to do to actually increase the level of this officer is click on that arrow, and you can go in and select your officer EXP books, apply it, and that will help increase the level of an officer. You're going to have 3 different officer EXP book amounts. So you can have 10K, 50K, 200K. These are the only 3 that there are. There isn't anything higher than a 200K officer book, at least not as of right now. Now, as you get an officer leveled up, you're going to gain buffs from that officer. You're going to gain firepower and HP buffs. And now to see exactly how that's going to work, all you have to do is click on this little information icon here. And you can see once we get her to level 2, we're going to get an HP buff of 1%. Once we get that officer leveled up to level 3, that firepower buff is then going to go to 2%. HP at level 4 is going to go to 2%, and so on and so forth. And as we scroll down, you can see level 60 is the highest level any officer currently in Warpath can go. And once you get an officer to level 60 and completely maxed out, that officer is going to provide you a 30% firepower and 30% HP buff. Now, that firepower and HP buff is going to get applied to the unit that that officer is paired with. Now, I want to give you a quick little bit of additional information in regard to that firepower and HP buff. So you can see on each unit is going to be able to hold 2 officers. You can't put more than 2, but you're going to be able to hold 2 officers on each unit. Now, this first officer here is what we call the captain, and then the second officer is what we call the aide. So that 30% firepower and 30% HP buff is only going to be added from the captain officer, the lead officer. So what I'm saying is if you have 2 officers like I do that are level 60, those buffs are not going to stack. So you're not going to get a 60% firepower and a 60% HP buff. You're only going to get the buffs that come from your captain or your lead officer, and that's true across the board. So make sure whichever officer you have on your unit, make sure to put the highest level officer in that lead spot to make sure you get the most amount of buffs possible for your unit. Now, one more thing to cover here with the officer EXP books. Now, there's going to be a variety of ways that you can actually obtain these and level your officers up. So doing daily officer missions is, of course, going to provide passive officer XP to your officer, but you're also going to get these officer EXP books by completing daily officer missions. They're super easy. The system just is very streamlined. All you have to do is click one button. It'll automatically apply your officers, and off you go. So you're going to be able to obtain these books by completing those daily officer missions. You're also going to be able to get them from the VIP store, the arena store, and a variety of other places through, just different in-game special events. Once you reach the Theater of Conquest stage of Warpath, you're going to be able to get them from the Theater of Conquest store. So there is a variety of different places and ways that you can get these officer EXP books. So don't stress. It's not that hard to level an officer up. It's really, really not. So that's something that you're going to be able to knock out fairly quick. Now, moving on to officer skills. So every single officer, again, this is going to be something that applies to every officer, regardless of if it is a ground force, air force, or Navy officer. Every single officer in the game is going to have 5 skills. Now, this first skill is always going to be what we call the tactical skill. These following 3 skills here, skill 2, skill 3, and skill 4, these 3 are always going to be referred to as the passive skills. And then this 5th skill is what we call the awakened skill. This 5th skill will not be accessible or be unlocked until the first 4 main skills are completely maxed out. Now, the highest level that a single officer skill can be leveled up to is level 5. So once you get all 4 to level 5, then you will automatically unlock the 5th awakened skill. I will use Liberty Blaze here as an example. You can see 5, 5, 5, 5 for his 4 main skills, and then I've got his 5th awakened skill automatically unlocked for me. Now, talking a little bit more in depth about the first 4 main skills here. The first skill is always going to be referred to as the tactical skill. These 3 passive skills is what we call them. You can see they're labeled passive skills. These are going to be essentially, think about them like supporting skills. They're going to add additional benefit to the unit that this officer is paired with. But the big, most important, arguably most important skill that an officer is going to have is its first tactical skill. There is a variety of officers in Warpath, and there are a variety of different tactical skills these officers bring to the table. A lot of them bring damage tactical skills. Some of them bring shield tactical skills. So make sure that you're paying attention to the descriptions of these officer skills and go with whatever officer fits your lineup of units the best. Now, when you do start to level up officer skills, here are a couple of tips I would highly suggest. When you're leveling up an officer and you want to fully invest in an officer, max it out, and fully awaken it, you want to always start with the first skill, the tactical skill. Invest all of your statues into that skill. Get that skill level 5 before you do anything with these other 3 passive skills. The reason for that is similar to what I just said. The tactical skill is always going to be, generally speaking, the skill that is going to provide you the most amount of value that an officer has. And these other 3 are more supporting skills, if you will. So get the best skill you possibly can first, which is generally speaking going to be the tactical skill, and then pick whichever passive skill you want. You can do them in any order you want. So pick whichever one you want that makes the most sense for you and for what you're trying to accomplish. Level that up. So let's say I wanted to get this increased damage intensity to from this officer's troop to fortifications. Let's say I did the first tactical skill first. That is level 5. Now I'm going to come over here and get this to level 5. And once I'm done with this, I can pick whichever 2 of the remaining skills I want to do from there and just knock it out. Like I said, once they're all done, you'll automatically gain access to this for free. Now below that, you're going to see this section for skill training. That is a whole different conversation that I already have covered in a video. So if you do want to take a look at that, feel free to go check that video out. But if you're brand new in Warpath, don't worry about that right now. That skill training section is not going to become available to you for at least the first 75 days of your server being open. So it's going to give you time to get a baseline understanding of officers, of units, and of the game in general. And then that's where the skill training aspect of this comes in. Now, if you have stuck around, I want to give you another little bonus tip here. So it saves you the time from having to do the math. To level up your officer skills, you're going to need a total of 720 officer statues. 720 will be enough statues to get all 4 of these main skills to level 5. Now, when it comes to actually getting officer statues, there is a variety of ways you can go about that. So if we jump into, I'm just going to use my profile as an example. I am VIP level 20. It, of course, depends on what your VIP level is. You can come down here, see the buffs for your VIP level. You can click your arrows to see what you're going to get, benefit-wise and daily chest-wise based on your VIP level. So for me, being VIP level 20, every single day I get 3 officer statues for completely free. So you're able to eventually get those from your VIP level. You can also come into the VIP store, which is going to give you the ability to get some golden officer statues as well, depending on, once again, your VIP level. There's a variety of ways you can get these golden officer statues. It does take a little while, and that's by design because, you have to be strategic about which officers you want to level up, because once you start with one, it's going to be really painful to back off of it and go somewhere else because you've already invested those statues into whatever officer you might have decided you wanted to, invest in. And then if you're like, oh crap, well, I want this one instead, then you can't get those statues back. So you're either stuck making a decision, do I commit to this, finish it, or do I hit the brakes and move on to something else? My suggestion is if you commit to something, you might as well finish it, so at least those statues aren't going to complete waste. But just know that there are a variety of ways that you can get these universal golden officer statues in the game. So while it is tough and it does take a little bit of time to level up officer skills, it's not dreadfully painful. It's not going to take you a year to get a single officer done, so don't worry. So that's going to wrap us up here for this basic officer guide. If you do have any additional questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. Either myself or somebody in the community will hopefully be able to get to those questions and get those answered. In addition to that, if you've got access to Discord and are not already in our community Discord server or didn't even know it existed because you're a brand new player in Warpath, the link to that is going to be in the description of the video. Click on that link. It will take you right into the community Discord server. Feel free to come in if you've got questions, anything like that. We've got almost 2,000 members in the community Discord server now. And there's a lot of super, super intelligent people in there that have got years of experience in the game and are always willing to offer a helping hand. And there's a variety of different perspectives, so you can get different people that, view things differently and kind of see which perspective makes the most sense for what you want to do and what you want to get out of the game. So even if you're a new player, feel free to come on in. We'd love to have you. Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's how you learn. With that being said, I appreciate you all taking the time to watch this video as always, and we will see you on the next one.